This is 911. Do you have an emergency?
Today on Rescue 911. Wash day danger. A baby girl tumbles into a washing machine. Be there as a heroic neighbor performs CPR.
I didn't know if I could do it right.
Until help arrives. Then, a thief attempts to elude capture.
He's running eastbound on 4th.
Watch as cops use the latest high-tech tools
The infrared system is our night eyes.
to track him down on Rescue 911.
Like most families, the beginning of every day had become a predictable routine for the Rollisons of Port St. Lucie, Florida. But on February 21st, 1987, their orderly routine was shattered. It was early Tuesday morning. Gail Rollison was beginning to get ready for work.
The three older kids were in the living room watching TV, and Denise was in the adjoining family room playing with the toys. I started the wash and waited till the washer was filled with water. Every single morning at 8 o'clock, I took a shower, and the other kids went to the bus stop at 8:10. As soon as it was done filling up, I said, I'm going to take a shower now.
Watch the baby.
And no one was specifically in charge of watching the baby. It was just something that I did it every morning. It was like a routine thing.
Her husband had already left for work, but Gail was confident her three older children could look after 18-month-old Denise. Gail was in the shower for less than 10 minutes. When we continue.
My mom just freaked out, and I called 911. My brother ran to Carlin's. She just looked dead.
I saw Denise's chair by the washer, and it's never over there.
Where's the baby?
It was like something come over me, and there was something telling me that something's wrong.
My mom just freaked out. I mean, she did not know what to do at all. And I called 911. My brother ran to Carlin's. She just looked dead.
Horton.
The call for help came in at 8:11 a.m.
Okay, how old is the baby?
I was home in bed, sleeping. The next thing I knew, Jeremy was just rapping on the windows and called me to come over to the house that something was wrong.
Carlin Korb rushed next door to help. From 3 miles away, paramedics also headed to the scene.
From the time a patient stops breathing and the heart stops, between 4 and 6 minutes, brain death begins. After 10 minutes of not having CPR done, there is essentially no chance of bringing them back.
I just knew I had to do it. I didn't know if I could do it right, if it would help, and I just started doing the CPR.
Carlin had not taken a first aid course in years.
So like at first I couldn't remember how to do it, and then I started doing it and pushing on her chest and breathing into her mouth, and then I remembered that you had to tilt the net back. I didn't know if she was going to make it or not.
Wait outside for the ambulance to go outside.
Her skin was all bubbly, and it just looked like different colors, like blue and real deep pink, and her eyes had a very far away look. I remember talking to Gail and telling her to try to calm down, and she kept saying that it was her fault. And I kept saying, no, it wasn't. You know, it was an accident.
Within 9 minutes of the call for help, paramedic Tim Munson and EMT Greg Sorensen got to the Rawlinsons' house.
When we first arrived on the scene, the mother was hysterical. When you see a child just laying there lifeless, it scares you.
She was cyanotic. Cyanosis is a discoloration of the skin, usually blue in color. It's brought on by lack of oxygen. Most of the time, when you see something with that much discoloration, that much cyanosis, you know, chances of bringing it back are almost non-existent. The thing that kept her viable was the neighbor doing CPR. That's what spans the time. She was not only sending the blood around the body by doing the compressions, but she was also breathing for the baby.
I picked her up myself and did mouth-to-mouth out to the truck, because by that time we had had a pulse.
I felt helpless. Like there was nothing I could do. It was already too late.
Okay, bag.
We didn't know how long she had been under the water in the wash machine. We don't know if she had brain damage or not.
If you can hear me, squeeze my hand, Denise.
Her color started to change within just a few moments of when we started breathing her.
Matt, I'm ready to get out of here.
It felt like someone died in my family. I don't know why. It just felt like someone died, and I just kept on crying and crying.
11-year-old Tracy blamed herself for the accident.
I felt guilty about what happened and everything. I was the oldest. I was the one that was supposed to be responsible of what is going on in the house when my mom's not around.
At the local hospital, Denise was examined by Dr. Hamant Gundabda.
She was unresponsive, like in coma. She was not breathing on her own. I was almost sure that either she was not going to make it or she was going to be mentally retarded if she did make it.
Dr. Gundabda decided to airlift Denise to Shands Hospital's Pediatric Intensive Care Unit 200 miles away in Gainesville. There she was treated by the director of the unit, pediatrician Sal Goodwin.
Denise, when she first arrived at our hospital, she was in a deep coma. Unquestionably, the biggest problem in a near-drowning patient is the degree of brain injury that has occurred as a result of lack of oxygen. In this situation, the odds are very much against a good survival.
Dr. Goodwin was forced to prepare Gail and her husband Dennis for the possibility that their baby daughter might never come out of the coma.
Well, she's a very, very sick little girl. There was a sudden point in the conversation where you could see that Denise's mother realized what was happening. That all of a sudden this healthy, happy 18-month-old who'd never had a problem in her life was on the verge of dying.
I didn't know what to say. I mean, Gail really, took it real hard. When you see someone laying there like that, it was just, you're helpless.
I couldn't hold her. She wasn't awake, but I still had to be there. And I felt like she knew I was there.
For 2 days and 2 nights, Gail stayed by Denise's bedside.
I felt real guilty for what had happened to Denise, because I was the one here. I should have been the one responsible for it.
Next morning, got up and walked over to the hospital, and little Denise yelled out, "Daddy!" Just like was, fine, you know, I mean, not that she was fine, but, you know, she wasn't in a coma anymore.
So when she came out of it and she recognized every one of us, then I knew there was nothing wrong with her. She had a favorite blanket she called a Lala, and that's the first thing she wanted was her Lala. So I knew she was all right.
Denise was hospitalized for a month with a serious lung disease caused by the laundry detergent she had inhaled. 3 years later, she is completely recovered.
I think the neighbor, if she would have been there, we would have had nothing to work with, absolutely nothing. Without the neighbor, the child would probably be dead now.
It makes me feel good, you know, that she is alive because of what I did. Learn CPR. That's the only lesson I can say. Anybody that lives near water or pools or has children should know it.
Prevention is the name of the game in near drowning. Keeping an eye on children and putting fences around the pools with self-closing, latching gates to know basic CPR.
It was very scary. I almost drowned.
It's a miracle. I don't know how to explain the feeling I had. It was just like the greatest feeling you could imagine. They say miracles don't really happen, but miracles do happen. I saw one.
I don't wash clothes anymore.
Next.
He's running eastbound on 4th. Okay, he's turning to the south, and he's by the rental place approaching 7th Street.
For cops working at night, darkness can make it almost impossible to catch a fleeing suspect, even from a helicopter. Any tree or even a deep shadow can hide a man so thoroughly that pursuing police lose his trail. But in Fort Worth, Texas, the police have found a high-tech way to see in the dark. It was sometime around 10 on the night of July 18th in a suburban neighborhood of Fort Worth. Using actors and officers involved, we have reconstructed the events of that night according to police and eyewitness accounts.
I was lying in my bed and I heard a noise. It sounded like a small motor, so I peeked out the blinds and saw a guy with a weed eater, and I wondered why somebody would be doing lawn work at 10:30 at night, and so I watched him to see what he was doing. At first I thought that he had locked himself out of the house, but then I decided that he didn't act like a person that had locked himself out of the house. He was acting too afraid. Whatever he was doing, he wasn't supposed to be in that house, and that's when I decided to call the police.
419 emergency?
The eyewitness's call came in at 10:19 p.m.
There's somebody that's breaking into the house next door.
What's the address of the house next door?
I'm not sure what it is.
Is it an apartment or a house?
It's a house.
I wondered if there was anybody in the house. That was the main thing, is that if there was anybody in there, I was afraid for them, and I wanted the police to get here.
Okay, we'll get somewhere right out there. Thank you.
Thank you.
The police immediately dispatched Air 1.
Monticello Drive. Last name Nicholson. Sights of a Hispanic male wearing a tank top and shorts. Just crawled in through the back window of a darkened residence next door. The residence is actually on Monticello. The white residence, second from the corner to the north.
When the call went out, Flight Officer Larry Henderson and pilot Jay Dixon were only a couple of miles away.
About one. There's the house over there.
Air 1's flare system allows officers in the helicopter to see the heat of objects and people on the ground below, even when it's dark, and often even when they're hiding.
We get on a scene on a call like that, and we were using the FLIR, which is the infrared device, We did not see anybody in the backyard or on the grounds proper, but out front there was a truck and a person standing next to the truck.
Air 1 John 13, we have a subject out in front of the house standing at a vehicle, something in the back, appears to be a lawnmower.
The first officer on the ground arrived within 10 minutes.
There was a black female by a parked car in front of the residence. It was just unknown at that time exactly who she was.
What are you doing here? My husband and I more than known. He's back there.
She just was talking loud enough so that whoever was inside the house could hear as well.
Come over here. Come over here. What are you doing over here?
Officer Gary Gendron and his partner were next on the scene.
Anybody with you?
She was excited, like she had been startled, looking up towards the helicopter and towards the back of the house, as though she was expecting someone to come from the rear of the house. The helicopter had already started its flare system and had taken up a position in the back of the house where they had been told the suspect had gained entry.
Looking down into the house, you can pick up a heat differential in that if there's an open window, the warm from the inside of the house will show up as that window being a warm spot.
Air 1 John 13, just for your information, it appears we have an open window at the back of the house. Shows up on the infrared as a heat differential.
10-4, John 13 A to B. You're going to take that?
I jumped the backyard fence and made my way toward the window area. Officer Dotson made his way around the back to my location.
John 210 to John 213.
Everybody was kind of on alert at that point. The window was broken around back and had been broken with a weed eater, which was still laying about 3 feet from the open window.
I went ahead and put her into my car as a safety measure to keep her from running off while I'm trying to secure the front of the house.
We went ahead and made a decision to go ahead and enter the residence and have Officer Gendron cover the front while we did make entry.
The first thing we noticed when we came in the back bedroom was that the house was completely ransacked. I'm not sure what he was looking for, but every room was just completely ransacked and in shambles. We weren't sure if the suspect was still inside the residence. It's kind of like hide and seek, but for real.
Nobody in the kitchen area. House is clear.
A car drove up and asked me if I was looking for a black male with a white muscle shirt on, because there was one running down the street.
Subject in a vehicle just advised. There's about 2 blocks down on West 5th Street.
When I told the helicopter that our suspect was heading down the street, they started scanning the street with their infrared system. The helicopter picked him up as he was nearing a patrol car that was coming up the street.
10-4, John 213, you 10-4. Have anybody else out here that can stop him?
He's running eastbound on 4th.
He's running eastbound on 4th.
Okay, he's turning to the south, and he's going to be on whatever the side of the street is run by 7-Eleven.
My partner and Officer Dotson were in the house, so it left me. So I went ahead and took a route with the female in my car. Air 1 called the pursuit. I monitored the streets that Air 1 called.
Still southbound, he's by the rental place approaching 7th Street.
Approaching 7th, 10-4, John 210, you clear?
K-9's chasing him now. He's out by the post office and JJ's Hideaway.
I was heading eastbound on West 7th Street, where the helicopter last said he was heading back towards West 7th Street. I saw the beam of light coming towards me, so I knew the suspect was running towards me.
Heading westbound. Cutting back to the north, be coming out on 7th Street. Westbound on 7th Street, approaching Monticello Market.
I saw him when he came around the corner of the building, and once he saw my patrol car, he darted across the street.
Officers have him. They're taking him down now.
The suspect we were chasing was in good physical condition and could have outran just about any of us that were there at the scene. So I believe he would have gotten away without the infrared system.
At nighttime before, I figured the helicopter at night was probably a marginal assistance. With the FLIR, it is a major factor in police work. It is a very good tool, and I cannot imagine doing the job without it.
Using the FLIR in pursuits has worked out real good for us. We can go out, and find these people and deal them a little misery.
The suspect is awaiting trial for burglary. The woman was not charged.
We should all take basic first aid and CPR courses every year. You never know when the life of someone you love may be in your hands. This series is dedicated to all the men and women who answer our calls for help and are there when we need them most. I'm William Shatner. Join us again next week for more true stories on Rescue 911.
Step out of the car, please.